ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾਵਾਂ ਦਾ ਆਈਲੈਟਸ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਕਲੀਅਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਫੇਸ ਕਰਨ ਨੂੰ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਖਾਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਤੇ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ। ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਅਤੇ ਸਪੀਕਿੰਗ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਔਖੇ ਸੌਖੇ ਕਰ ਹੀ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਪਰ ਜੇਕਰ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ ਦੀ ਅਤੇ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ ਦੀ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਦਾ। ਲੈਫਟ ਐਂਡ ਰਾਈਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਇੰਸਟਾਗ੍ਰਾਮ ਪੇਜ ਵੀ ਦੇਖ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਅਪਡੇਟ ਅਪਲੋਡ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਪਲੱਸ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਦਾ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਵੀ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੀ PDF ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਜੇਕਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਨੂੰ ਲਿਸਨਿੰਗ, ਰੀਡਿੰਗ, ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਅਤੇ ਸਪੀਕਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਲਮ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰੈਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੀ PDF ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਘਰੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਿਆਰੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਵਿਦਨ 15 to 20 ਡੇਜ਼। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮ ਕਰੈਕ ਕਰਕੇ ਸੇਮ ਉਵੇਂ ਦਾ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਨਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਡਰੀਮ ਹੈ, ਜਿਵੇਂ 7.5, 8, 9 ਬੈਂਡ। ਪ੍ਰੂਫਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, ਪ੍ਰੈਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ PDF ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਲਾਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ 100% ਸੇਮ ਰੀਡਿੰਗ, 100% ਸੇਮ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਅਤੇ ਸਪੀਕਿੰਗ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲੀ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੂਫ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ, ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਕਰੀਨ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਆ। ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਸਟੂਡੈਂਟ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਡਿਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਆ, ਆਪਣੀ ਚੈਟ ਸ਼ੇਅਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ, ਅਤੇ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਬੈਂਡ ਸਕੋਰ ਦੇਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦੇ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ WhatsApp ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ।
You will hear a woman phoning an electrical repair company about a problem with a piece of household equipment. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 7. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7.
Hello, Sinclair Electrical Services, Kevin speaking.
Oh, good morning. I believe you do television repairs.
That's right, we do.
Well, my television's not working, but I don't have a car. Can you come round to see it?
That shouldn't be a problem.
Good.
Can I just take a few details then?
Certainly.
So, if I could start with your name?
Yes, it's Mrs. Douglas.
Douglas?
It's double S at the end, actually.
Okay, and the address?
135 Park Hill Avenue.
In Somerton?
That's right. And would you like my phone number?
Yes, please.
It's 765-482.
428?
No, 82.
Okay, right. So, what's the problem with the television?
Low volume. Even when you turn it up to maximum, it doesn't seem to make much difference. I mean, it's quite an old TV, but it's always worked perfectly well up to now. And the picture's okay. I did wonder. We had a power cut a couple of days ago, and it's not been right since then. I don't know if that could have affected it.
It certainly might have something to do with it. Anyway, I'll come over and have a look. Can you tell me the make and model number by any chance? The number will be on the back of the TV.
Yes, it's Schneider. That's SCHNEIDER. And the model number's, let me see. Yes, it's SVV5002.
Right. Is that a fairly recent model?
Not really. I got it 7 years ago. I remember the date because it was the year after I moved into this house, and that was 8 years ago. I hope you can fix it. I really don't want to buy another one.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 8 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 8 to 10.
Well, I'll see what I can do when I come round to the house to look at it. I think I know your road. Is it the one that's off the high street?
That's right. The house is on the left if you're coming from the high street, just before the road bends to the right. I'm afraid it's getting harder and harder to park on the road, but if you drive on round the bend, you can usually find somewhere.
That's all right. Now, let's see. When would it be convenient for me to come round?
Well, as soon as possible, really.
Well, what's today? Friday. I'm booked up today, and then we've got the weekend, so I'm afraid it looks like Monday morning's the earliest.
You can't come tomorrow?
Well, Saturday morning I'm in the showroom, and I don't work Saturday afternoon and Sunday.
OK. I'll make sure I'm in.
Oh, and one last thing. I wonder if you'd mind telling me how you heard about us. We've just opened a new web page, and we're interested to see how effective it is.
No, I actually heard about you from the woman next door. She couldn't remember your number, but I looked it up in the phone book.
Oh, right. It's always the best advertising, word of mouth. Right, OK. Thank you, Mrs. Douglas.
Thank you. Goodbye.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 2.
Part 2. You will hear part of a tutorial between two students and their tutor.
First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now, listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
Dr. Barrett?
Sammy, come in. Is Irene with you?
Yes.
Good. Sit down. Right, we're looking at how far you've got with your research project since we last met. You decided to do a survey about computer facilities at the university, didn't you?
That's right. We decided to investigate the university's open access centres and, in particular, the computer facilities. Lots of the students are having trouble getting access to a computer when they need one, so we thought it would be a useful area to research.
Good, fine. It's not a topic anyone has looked at before, as far as I know, so it's a good choice. So, what background reading did you do?
Well, we looked in the catalogues in the library, but we couldn't find much that was useful. It's such a specialised subject, hardly anything seems to have been published about it.
And as well as that, the technology is all changing so quickly.
But the Open Access Centre has an online questionnaire on computer use that it asks all the students to do at the end of their first year, and the supervisor gave us access to that data, so we used it as a starting point for our research. It wasn't exactly what we needed, but it gave us an idea of what we wanted to find out in our survey. Then we designed our own questionnaire.
And how did you use it?
We approached students individually and went through our questionnaire with them on a one-to-one basis.
So you actually asked them the questions?
That's right. We made notes of the answers as we went along, and actually we found we got a bit of extra information that way as well, about the underlying attitudes of the people we were interviewing, by observing the body language and things like that.
How big was your sample?
Well, altogether we interviewed a random sample of 65 students, 55% male and 45% female.
And what about the locations and times of the survey?
We went to the 5 open access computer centres at the university, and we got about equal amounts of data at each one. It took us 3 weeks. We did it during the week, in the day and in the evenings.
Not the weekends?
No.
So presumably your respondents were mostly full-time students?
Yes. Oh, you mean we should have collected some data at the weekends from the part-time students? We didn't think of that.
OK, it's just an example of how difficult it is to get a truly random sample. So, how far have you got with the analysis of results?
Well, everyone agreed there was a problem, but we're more interested in what they think should be done about it. The most popular suggestion was for some sort of booking system. About 77% of the students thought that would be best, but there were other suggestions. For example, about 65% of people thought it would help if the opening hours were longer, like 24 hours a day.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
So, what other suggestions did people come up with?
Well, actually, the main reason why people can't get to a computer is because so many students are using them for personal emails or just surfing the web. So one solution would be to have some computer rooms for recreational use and some for people to do serious work in. The trouble is, quite often people do their work, then they want to check their emails. And it would be a nuisance if you had to get up and go to another room and log on again just for that.
Another problem is that during the day, tutors book whole blocks of computers for complete sessions, so several people said there should be restrictions on block bookings. But the trouble is, the classes need the computers. There's nothing else they can use. Some people said the whole problem would be solved if the university would just buy more computers, but other people said it might make things better for a bit, but it wouldn't really solve the problem permanently. You can't just solve the problem by throwing money at it.
And with the suggestion that the computer room should stay open round the clock, some people did point out that there'd have to be someone around all the time to make sure the equipment didn't get stolen, especially at night.
So a booking system seems to be the best suggestion.
Yes. Apparently some universities have a sort of queuing system. It means the staff at the open access centres have to organise it, but people say it works quite well. You go along, and if there isn't a computer free just then, you're given a numbered ticket, and then when your number is called out, you have the next available computer. Or it can be done electronically as well, but that's more complicated, and it isn't really necessary.
Good. So, now let's discuss.
That is the end of part 2.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3. Part 3.
You will now hear a radio talk on agricultural regulations.
First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Could there be clearer proof of the arrogance and indifference of those who are supposed to keep our food safe than the muzzling of John Verrill? Agriculture is a business, true, and businesses have to make money. But this shows how ministers and officials put the profits of the agriculture business before the well-being of the British people. Mr. Verrill, a pharmaceutical chemist, was appointed to represent consumers on one of the many committees that advise the government on food safety. When he tried to do his job, though, and wanted to warn ministers of a danger to children's health, he was refused permission to do so. The danger comes from hormones given to cattle in the USA and some other countries to make them grow faster. They speed up the animal's development to maturity, thus making meat production more profitable. There have, however, long been fears that the hormones have horrendous effects on the people who eat them, causing diseases as serious as cancer. Once these hormones were used on British cattle too, but over 20 years ago they were banned in Europe for being too dangerous. Indeed, so concerned is the European Union that it banned imports of hormone-fed beef years ago, much to the fury of the US government, which wants to sell it all over the world. Several years ago, the USA and Canada asked the World Trade Organization to declare the ban illegal and to punish Europe for failing to lift it. The WTO, with its long record of refusing to let environmental or safety concerns interfere with trade, agreed, imposing fines of more than $120 million a year on the EU for its refusal to back down. The British government now backs the Americans, claiming that there is no proof that hormone-fed beef does any harm. This is where Mr. Verrill comes in. He is very angry with the government, especially as their claim comes out just after a Danish study shows that growth hormones are 200 times more dangerous than was previously thought. Worried by these findings, Mr. Verrill spoke to government representatives, who did nothing.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Not only that, but they have not been testing beef which is imported, which, by law, they are required to do. This directly affects the British public, as about 40% of the beef British people eat comes from abroad, supposedly from countries like Brazil, which does not allow the use of growth hormones. Brazilian beef is stocked by some British supermarkets and widely used in catering. Yet, when a Brazilian farm was recently visited by EU inspectors, a large stockpile of this banned substance was found. This is not the first food scandal we have had in our country. Take the present concern over a well-known chocolate company. Several months ago, the company found out that its sweets were contaminated with a rare form of salmonella, but they did nothing about it, leaving their sweets in the shops to be bought by the unsuspecting public. It was not until 5 months later, when several children had suffered food poisoning, that the chocolate bars were removed from the shelves. It makes you wonder how many other dangerous foods have been allowed onto our plates.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 4.
Part 4.
You will hear a talk on seasonal affective disorder. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
In the past few years, a new condition has been identified and given a name, SAD, short for Seasonal Affective Disorder. This is now recognized as a distinct kind of clinical depression, where people become depressed at the onset of winter, accompanied by a craving for sweet things, causing weight gain. Each spring and summer would then bring on almost maniacal highs and feelings of boundless energy and happiness. Experiments to combat this depression showed that increased exposure to bright light in humans could suppress their production of a darkness-related hormone called melatonin. The light needed to induce this change was about 2,000 lux, or about 4 times brighter than ordinary household lighting. It was then calculated that if bright light could suppress melatonin secretion, then it might have other effects on the brain, including the reversal of symptoms of depression. While melatonin's precise role in SAD has not been pinned down, the theory led to effective treatment. Not surprisingly, SAD affects more people where winter nights are longer and days shorter. In the UK, an estimated 500,000 adults develop full-blown SAD in winter, and twice this number suffer the milder condition called subsyndromal SAD. About 80% of sufferers improve when given light therapy, and improvement usually comes within 2 to 4 days. Scientists are still unsure why winter depression happens, but more than a decade of research has turned up some surprising findings. Nearly 80% of SAD victims are women. Researchers are uncertain why this is so. SAD can affect people at any age, but typically it begins around the age of 20 and becomes less common between 40 and 50. SAD is comparatively rare in children and adolescents, but so far researchers have been unable to come up with a logical reason for this. As many as half of SAD sufferers have at least one family member with depressive illness, suggesting that the depression has a genetic component. Some patients experience shifts in their body clocks when they're depressed in winter. They are morning people at one time of the year and become evening people at another. What is the underlying difference between SAD sufferers and others? A clue can be found in carbohydrate craving, a common symptom. People often become obsessed with chocolate, for example. Carbohydrates alter brain chemistry by increasing the level of a soothing chemical called serotonin, a neurotransmitter that carries signals between brain cells. SAD sufferers crave carbohydrates because they may need serotonin to lift their mood. This craving can be intense, in fact, an addiction. It may be that the serotonin system of the brain has problems regulating itself during the winter. Some SAD sufferers respond well to the drug Prozac, thought to influence the brain's serotonin-using system. Other brain chemicals and hormones probably play a role in winter depression. Another neurotransmitter, dopamine, for example, may be inadequate in certain cases. Researchers hope to uncover clues to SAD's secret by probing similarities between SAD and hibernation. Though no valid link between the two has been established, some SAD patients say they feel like hibernating animals. SAD sufferers tend to put on fat in autumn and early winter, roughly the time when such hibernators as bears and squirrels do.
That is the end of part 4.